All right, guys, what we're about to talk about is credit lines versus business credit cards. There's a huge difference here. One of them almost bankrupt me, and I don't want this to happen to you, so we're going to go into a little bit of detail here about this topic because most of you are not going to have money to flip your house when you start out, so you're going to have to raise money somehow. And if you don't have the money to leave in a hard money loan and you can't raise money, you're stuck wholesaling. You're going to have to wholesale those houses off or bird dog those houses off until you can find the money. But credit cards and credit lines are a great way to fund these deals, but one is better than the other. So I'll talk about in a second why I use credit cards, and they do serve a purpose, but I don't recommend getting them. And if you do, be very, very, very careful. If you do use them right, they do serve a benefit. So we talked about in another video the 4 different types of ways to fund your deals: your own money, hard money, private money, or credit lines. So here's what's going on right now. You're going to come across a lot of companies sponsoring REI clubs or expos or online, or you see them on webinars, and they're going to say get $50,000 to $250,000 of business credit lines unsecured in 24 hours or less. Apply now. I understand why it's attractive. It got me too. So what you're going to do is you're going to contact them. They're going to say, well, it's going to take $3,000 to $7,000, $10,000 or whatever, but we'll get you these credit lines. And you're not going to think to ask, is this a credit line or a credit card company? Because what they're really getting you is a culmination of a bunch of credit cards all as one. So they may get you $50,000 to $100,000 of business credit cards broken up between 10 cards, 5,000 here, 7,000 there. But what they're going to tell you is, oh, don't worry, it's a great deal. We're going to get this all for you, even though you can go apply for your own credit cards on your own, guys. If you're at least going to go this route, go apply for your own credit cards alone. It takes a second to punch in your information. But they're going to tell you get $50,000 to $250,000. They're going to tell you you're going to get interest rates between 6 and 18%. Or they're going to tell you you're going to get 6 to, 18-month periods of 0% interest. So they're going to give you all these ranges of what you can potentially get. So you go through the process, but they're not going to tell you exactly what you get until you put up the money, that $5,000, $10,000 to go do this. I promise you, almost all of you are going to get burned this way, because what you're going to get is, you're going to get the $50,000, not the $250,000. You're going to get the 18% interest instead of the low interest rate. You're going to get the 6-month 0% interest period instead of the 18-month period. When they give you a range, they do that to make you think you're going to get this over here, when within full intention, they know that most people are probably not going to qualify because they're not going to have the 800 credit score and a really good income to get those higher rates. And they're going to most likely, like I did and all my friends have, get the lower amount, right? So you got to be very, very careful. There's these companies all over. And then when you get these cards, they're credit cards. And they're going to tell you that you can spend all the money on there, but that's not true. And the ways that they tell you to take them off are kind of iffy. I don't even know if some of them are legal, some of the ways I've been taught. But say you get a $10,000 card, a $5,000 card, a $3,000, a $7,000, $5,000 to make up that $50,000 that you get. Say you have a $5,000 card. You may only be able to take off $500 or $800 for cash advances. So the reason why you're getting a credit line in the first place is to go buy a house. You can't buy a house with $5,000 or even $800, right? And the cash advance fees charge you a fee, and then you have huge interest rates, and then you've got all these different cards you have to keep track of, guys. It becomes such a big headache, and this is what almost bankrupted me, because I got a bunch of cards. In fact, that company said they were going to get me 50 grand, and they only got me 35 grand, and they broke the contract anyways, and I paid them like almost 5 grand to do so. It was such a ripoff, but I was desperate to get money. So here's the thing you need to know. Once you get these credit cards, it can be a big problem, because if you miss one payment, for example, I had a card that I was paying on for years. I worked the balance up, and basically was one of my better cards. I had like $15,000 balance on it, and I was paying on it. I never missed a payment, and I paid off the entire thousands of dollars balance that previous month, but there was a little interest rate that came on into the next month that I didn't pay off in advance. It was like 50, 60 bucks or something, I can't remember. And I didn't know it was on there because there's interest carried over. And so I wasn't paying attention to that card because I knew that it was zeroed out. I knew I didn't have a balance on it because I had it in my records, but I missed that payment on just the interest. So my minimum payment was like a few dollars, but they jumped my interest rate up after being a very good customer for years from like, it was like 10 or 12% or something low. I'm not even 100% sure, but I know what it went up to. It went up to 29.5%, almost 30%. Can you believe that? And I got so frustrated. I told them, I was like, look, I've never had a problem. And will you lower this back down? They said, yeah, we will, but it'll take 6 months. And I said, congratulations, I'm not spending anything on this card, and I'll just wait. And they basically are dumb enough to do so. And they said basically, okay. So I've been spending that car, making them a bunch of money, and they tried to screw me over. So guys, just be very careful. They can jump up these rates. There's all sorts of verbiage and terminology inside those card contracts that are gonna hurt you. Long story short, get to what a credit line is. A credit line is a direct line of credit from a bank, which you're gonna be able to literally write a check off of. So if you get a $100,000 line, you could literally go buy a house for $100,000. And this is gonna make it a lot easier. You can go down and close on properties quickly. You don't have to worry about qualifying with lenders and going through that process, because in this business, being time efficient and closing and striking quick and making offers is very important. So if you know you got a $500,000 credit line, you can go make an offer on a house without having to wait for that lender to get back to you, which after submitting the application, it could take a day or two, and by then you may have lost that deal, right? Or you had to put up big earnest money, or what if you're buying from a wholesaler? What if you put up $5,000 non-refundable earnest money? Guys, it can really hurt you. So getting a credit line is the best way to go, but go direct to the small banks. Don't go to the big banks, guys, and be smart. Now, what did I use these credit cards for? The ones I had, because I already had them. I use them for gap funding. So when you borrow money for a house, most of the time it's gonna fund the purchase price and some of the repair costs, but not all the costs, not all the interest fee costs, not all the repair costs and the labor fees. So I use them to fund the gap. That's what's the difference in the amount that you have to spend on the project. Say they only lend $100,000, but you need $115,000 to finish the project. The gap is that $15,000. That's what I use my credit cards for. Buying materials at the stores and funding these. Be very, very careful though, because if you're not, it's gonna run away with you, but there is a purpose, and that's what we use our credit cards for, guys. I hope I explained the difference between a credit line and credit cards. Credit cards are risky. They're not good for you, but if you've already got them, that's what I use them for. Work on getting a credit line. When you talk to these companies, grill them in every which way possible. Say, I wanna make sure I'm getting one line of credit, not a bunch of credit cards. And they're gonna try to tell you, because they hear this all the time, because there's objections all the time about it. Oh, no, yeah, you'll be able to take all the money out. But yeah, it is on across different cards, but we're gonna show you ways to take all the money off of. Guys, think about it. Let's go on to the next video.